Peace, 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 peace. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, on the last video, I think I was showing you how I did this acceptance for value stamp. And right here, number 2, and I'm going to continue now. I'm back. Excuse me. I'm back, everyone. Let's see where. Let me check and see what we're doing. All right, all right, all right. I think I'm gonna skip this and go to. I think I want to talk about. Yeah, this right here is cool. I want to go into this public reflection and interpretation. This is a good section right here. I'm going to kind of skip around just a little bit, but I want to talk about this right now. This is on statutory criminal charges and the civil resolution by agreement of the parties. Now, all these cases have like a civil and criminal type of aspect to it, these criminal cases. They call it criminal, but if you watch my other videos, you've heard of something called a penal action. And these are penal statutes. And they're criminal, but they're civil in nature, which means there's some sort of pecuniary interest the state has in your estate, or it's about money, in other words. So right here, we're going to get into a discussion about what to look for in court and what's really going on, the substance of what is really going on. From the time that you commit some sort of act that can be construed as some sort of crime. So, and this is real good because it kind of teaches you how to think, how somebody can take anything you do and interpret it in a myriad of different ways. It's really, really interesting. But let's just get into it. It says the public reflection interpretation, public/reflection/interpretation, statutory criminal charges, civil resolution by agreement of the parties. The sequence is this. Number 1, you commit some actual act, such as writing a check on a closed account, which people used to do to try to discharge debt as well, which is simply an event in reality. You inscribe something on a piece of paper. So what? You also walked into the grocery store, ran into a friend, and planned a dinner party. All are simple happenings with no legal charge attached. Number 2, someone, some living being, the complainant, has considered what you did to be a crime. You committed with criminal intent, mens rea. You do understand that all crimes have to have the intention behind it, mens rea. Okay, for you to be guilty, the mind must be guilty. They have to, examination is examining your mind to make a determination, did you truly intend to do what you did? So in other words, out of an infinite number of possible subjective inner motivations you might have had for doing something, and an infinite number of possible ways anyone can think about what he perceives of your action, the accuser chose to adopt the perspective that what you did was a crime that you committed with criminal intent. The first is a value judgment. The second, regardless of substance, is nothing for which anyone but you possesses authority to speak. The accuser can neither know your intent, nor does he have any right to speak for it. He can observe your outer behavior, not your inner motivation. Now, I would be inclined to kind of somewhat disagree with that, because when they get you on the stand and question you, they do an examination and a cross-examination. That's just looking at your conscious mind and your subconscious mind to see if they're in agreement, because the subconscious mind never lies. The subconscious mind contains all the truth. The conscious mind is the seat of the wheel, and it can decide to do things. But, so these people got a science of impeaching your testimony and all kinds of things, exposing you as, getting you to commit perjury or something like that. So that's why a lot of attorneys don't want to put their clients on the witness stand. Number 3, the interpretation that what you did is a crime, as well as what that crime is, what statutes you allegedly violated, the basis of prosecution, etc., are all applications of the facts to the accuser's presumptions, assumptions, priorities, interpretations, and motivations. Number 4, the complainant swears out a complaint under affidavit that you did what he says you did and submits it to the prosecuting authorities for them as public servants, serving the system, not you, to investigate and therefore prosecute. You're a straw man when you attached, unless you rebut the presumption of the contrived union. Number 5, the first thing across the mirror, the bar, onto the right-hand side of the bar, namely public debt, bankruptcy, mirage land, is the criminal charges, which is what the public side indicts you for. Since the public side is debt, reflection, and bankruptcy, nothing of substance and reality can originate there. The public side must reflect something real on the private side, and on the private/substance side, and then adjudicate the imaginary dispute concerning the arbitrary interpretation of the actual event, calling it a crime, and saying it violated one or more of their statutes. The event itself is nothing other than an occurrence in reality. A thing in and of itself is completely neutral. If someone calls it a crime, that is his projection and / interpretation of his mental processes and priorities. What he makes of what you allegedly did is his business, not yours. What do his mental processes have to do with you? He is manufacturing fiction and projecting it on you, attempting to lure you into traversing into his imaginary, let's pretend world and deal with what goes on there. You receive a complaint that says, on or about June 5th, 2001, John P. Smith, you did willfully do blah, blah, blah. So you read this, blush, and you say to yourself, angered and fearful inside, that dirty rat, I did not. If you join his game and try to disprove his fiction, and you have left your domain, departed from solid ground, and ensconced yourself firmly in a swirling mirage of your accuser's fertile imagination. Why write yourself into his novel? Now, this is a very, very important paragraph. Very, very important paragraph for you to understand, because this is what trips up a lot of you, is that you get caught up in what you did, and you don't understand that that's a distraction that they're tossing at you. Yeah, you did X, Y, and Z. That's not the issue. That's not the issue of what I allegedly did, of what your interpretation of what I did is. That's not the issue. What the issue is what is the nature of this action? That's what we're trying to find out. And to get down to the real issue. What is the nature of the action? The real issue is we have a debt collection, we have an accounts receivable that's aging, and somebody wants to balance some books somewhere. That's what this is really all about. So, but they keep on throwing at you what you did. Oh, you did X, Y, and Z. You had a pound of cocaine in the car and some AK-47s in the trunk, and they keep you on that, and you get worried. You get scared. You keep looking at the paperwork. You staring at it. I remember one time, in jail, the prosecutor, when I was getting ready to go to court, and she had found this document right here, as a matter of fact, and she said, okay, this is where he's getting his information from, and she sent me copies of it to my cell, along with a discovery, because I was getting ready to go to a hearing. So she had like about 2 boxes of discovery, pictures of things they had taken, they had raided my house, did all kind of things like that. And so I'm sitting in solitary confinement, and then it dropped off 2 big boxes of discovery in my cell. So when they let me out for break, I took the 2 big boxes of discovery and dumped the shit in the trash. I wasn't going to allow that to plague my mind. And that's what you must not do. You cannot let people control your mind. That is not the issue. If you decide to use any of these processes, you can't look back. You got to use these processes. You got to decide, okay, you're either going to use a private remedy or a public remedy. If you decide to go with a private remedy, you can't change your mind later on. So if I decide to go in there and accept the charges for value and consideration, why am I going to waste time looking at the discovery of what I allegedly did? I'm not interested in it. I'm going into this courtroom to handle my business and take care of everything. So the mind aspect of this game is something you have to contend with. A lot of you don't contend with it because you haven't been locked up. You ain't been in solitary confinement. You never had to fight against somebody having a charge trying to give you a lot of time or something like that. These are the things that you have to contend with. You got to kind of, you're reading documents and trying to get information, but you're also trying to balance that with a proper spiritual, grounding. You have to ground yourself spiritually because you got to get a hold of that fear and that doubt. You're going to be experiencing a lot of fear and doubt, nervousness, and all of that, and you got to get a hold of that. And the only thing that you can only hold on firmly to is something that is immutable. So that is why you got to understand the natural laws. So once you start studying the natural laws and you begin to understand how you can control, once you obey the natural laws, you can begin to bend reality to your will. Now you can begin to see how you really can defend yourself. One of the things that I used to do is I used to always take a lot of prayers out of the book of Psalms, which is nothing but spells. They're spells. Let's look at Psalm real quick. Let's look at some of these Psalms. Let's see one in here. Psalms 1. Let me see if I can find one. I used to always get different ones, and Psalm. Let me see if I can find one real quick. So I used to okay, let me see what this one is. I would get a psalm like this right here. Okay, and I would post it on my wall and I'd read it every day. And I don't think people really pay attention to the Bible. The book of Psalms is like a book of spells. Like a book of spells. And so I'd actually go into it. Fight my enemies, Lord. Attack my attackers. Shield me and help me. Aim your spirit, everyone who hurts me down, but promise to save me. Let all who want to kill me be disgraced and put to shame. Chase away and confuse all who plan to harm me. Send your angel after them and let them be like straw in the wind. Make them run in the dark on a slippery road as your angel chases them. I did them no harm, but they hid a net to trap me, and they dug a deep pit to catch and kill me. Surprise them with disaster. Trap them in their own nets and let them fall and rot in the pits that they have dug. I will celebrate and be joyful because of you, Lord, have saved me. Every bone in my body will shout, no one is like the Lord. You protect the helpless from those in power. You save the poor and the needy from those who hurt them. Liars accuse me of crimes I know nothing about. They repay evil for good, and I feel all alone. When they were sick, I wore sackcloth and went without food. I truly prayed for them as I would for a friend or a relative. I prayed for them as I would for a friend or relative. I was in sorrow and I mourned as I would for my mother. I have stumbled, and worthless liars I don't even know surround me and sneer. Worthless people make fun and never stop laughing. But all you do is watch. When will you do something? Save me from the attack of those vicious lions. And when your people meet, I will praise you and thank you, Lord, in front of them all. Don't let my brutal enemies be glad because of me. They hate me for no reason. Don't let them wink behind my back. They say hurtful things and they lie to the people who want to live in peace. They are quick to accuse me. They say, you did it. We saw ourselves. You see everything, Lord. Please don't keep silent or stay far from me. Fight to defend me. Lord God, and prove that I'm right by your standards. Don't let them laugh at me or say to each other, now we've got what we want. We'll gobble them up. This is, of course, a newer translation of, newer English. However, I believe you get the point. This is Psalms 35, 1 through 25. But there's a lot of different Psalms like that in the Bible. Okay, so if you have some sort of circumstances going on in your life, what I would suggest that you do is find a Psalms. Just go through the book of Psalms. They actually have a Psalms, This book right here. If you ever get this book right here, Powers of the Psalms. You know, I got one here at the house. That's what it is. You got these Psalms and all these Psalms. I'm trying to tell you, you got to start respecting the power of the tongue. Okay, if you may have some type of situation that making you nervous. The reason a lot of y'all just depend on paperwork. It's the weirdest thing to me. You come in and you have a system and people that bombard me, Yusef, show me the remedy. You're not showing me the remedy. Fuck what you're talking about. And then I tell them, well, the remedy for commerce is HCR 192. That was the remedy that was given to us. What the fuck you don't understand? Why the fuck you don't understand that? There's no money, so you got a right to discharge debt. That's the remedy. This other shit, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything is commerce. Everything is a commercial lien and commercial charges. Everything is creditor and debtor. So there isn't any money. So your remedy is that the government will discharge your debt dollar for dollar because we gave them the gold. But people keep saying, you're not giving me the remedy. I gave you the remedy. Your dumb ass don't understand what I'm saying. And you're looking for something else. I don't know. You ever met somebody, you tell them the truth and this is why people are poor. Let me tell you something. I don't have no sympathy for poor people. I have no sympathy for them, and I'll explain why. Because I've read almost every book I can on getting wealth. There's a lot of different books. One thing is consistent through all the books, all the wealthy people and everything keep saying, they all use the law of attraction. 100% across the board. But when you come and talk to your people about it, I may be like I'll be doing a live and I'll start talking about the law of attraction. Some motherfucker in the comment section will say, well, Yusef, I got this UCC1. He'll just ignore everything I'm just saying. He want to talk about paperwork. Fuck that spirit shit you talking about, nigga. I need to talk about paperwork. These are the heathens that think they're going to get a remedy. These are the people that they talking about in these scriptures. People like that. They talking about them. I see it. I read it all the time. I said, God, because really people don't change. These same people existed 4,000 years ago. When a lot of other prophets came to give them a warning and tell them shit. Like before the flood. And or when Jesus came, oh, that's that carpenter's boy Jesus. Noah crazy as hell. This nigga building a damn boat in the middle of the desert, putting animals on it. This motherfucker crazy. Hey, Noah. Hey, it's gonna rain. Hey, yeah, I know, man. Hey, but can I get some tools from you, man? I need to borrow. They don't want to talk. He trying to tell them, but they don't want to hear the real information. They want to be fed some bullshit. They think that these remedies will work for them without the proper mindset. They just think they can file some paperwork and it just works. They believe in magic They don't believe in the law of attraction, but they believe in magic paperwork and magic words. And, I come on my live and I try to explain things, give you the nuances of all of this. Try to give you some type of spiritual platform because if you're a private citizen, the laws you're supposed to be obeying are the laws of the creator of the boundless universe. But a lot of you ain't got no connection with the creator of the boundless universe. So I really don't see how you think you could ever get any type of remedy because the person that is attacking you is the creator because you're a goddamn heathen. And you deserve every motherfucking thing that happens to you. And I don't know what else to be, y'all see, anybody's been following me. Anyone who has been following me for 10 years, I ain't never changed. I see people, they'll come in, I used to follow Yusef, but he started changing up. Nigga, I ain't changed up. I've been talking public and private from day one, nigga. I ain't changed nothing. Even all the stories I tell over and over, I tell them the exact same way every time. Whether it's investing in real estate, some prison story or something, it's the same story. Don't nothing change up. And that right there pisses me off more than anything when dudes start accusing you of that. Because it's one, I say, nigga, you ain't been following me. You talking about I'm changing. I ain't changing up nothing. As I do this, the longer I go, obviously I get a deeper understanding of it. I'm learning as we go all the time as well. So yes, I'm not going to be saying the same shit I said I'm going to build off of what I had 10 years ago. But I had a solid platform because I came with the fundamentals, the principles, the maxims. That's what you're supposed to be studying. But you can't get that through their head. Like a good maxim is the burden of proof is on he who asserts, not he who denies. That is intricate. Once you get into court, it helps you understand how you don't need to be answering questions. You need to be asking questions. Anything you say can and will be used against you. That one. Just things like that, it has a wide application. That should always be on your mind, especially if you're in court. If you're in a courtroom, you got to watch what you say, but you also got to understand silence is acquiescence. So if you remain silent, then that means you agree. So you can't remain silent, so you got to know how to respond. Are you a U.S. citizen? Could you please define what a U.S. citizen is and where you derive your definition from? Is this your signature on this piece of paper? That looks like a very good forgery. Do you have the original blue ink wet copy for my personal inspection so I can make a determination as to the veracity and validity of this evidence that you're attempting to proffer in the evidence? You're not saying yes, you're not saying no. You need clarification. Because every word has multiple definitions. Even when they say you've been charged with. I'm sorry. Could you please define charge for me? Because it is my understanding that charge has about 6 different senses of the word. Now, is this some sort of lien on property? Is that what the court is doing? Are they charging some sort of property of mine? You don't have to answer that question, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, they say you've been charged with something. Well, what is the meaning? I looked up all these words. When I first started doing this, the first thing I did is look up all the words that I thought I knew the definition of, like charge, constitution, legal fiction. I even looked up the definition of of, there, for. I looked up those definitions. I was looking up definitions for everything because I understood that I thought I knew what this stuff meant, and I found out that I didn't. The words don't mean what I thought they meant. So the reason that they can presume that you know what the words mean because there's another maxim of law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So they use that against you. They don't give you the definition of a word or nothing because they have the right to presume that you already know the meaning of what they're talking about. Because ignorance of the law is no excuse. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I wanted to introduce you to the book of Psalms, this book right here. You can order that. I strongly, if you have a criminal case that you're contending with, I'm going to tell you the first thing that you have to do is you have to get right spiritually, because the reason that you're having a criminal case is because your spirit is off. Your spirit is off. That's why you have a criminal case. You've indulged in some sort of I don't know. Something. You didn't ate the wrong kind of foods. I would also fast. If you're looking at something real serious like going to prison, you need to fast. You need to fast. You need to fast. You need to have the power. If you're looking at 5 or 10 years, you really need to fast. You need to do a 21-day fast. You need to listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen. Water is powerful. Have you ever watched that video, Messages from Water? Okay, when you pray over water, water takes the words, the vibrational frequencies that you emit. And they found this out by examining, like putting the word love over water and then freezing it and then examining it under electron microscope and see how in harmony all of the crystal was, the atomic structure was. And then they put a word like hate on it and then froze it and then looked at that under electron microscope and it was all discombobulated. Words have power. You have to respect words, the power of the word. So the book of Psalms, why we call it the book of spells, all right, because you may not like that word because you've associated it with witchcraft or something like that, but this is not witchcraft. The witches know what everybody else knows. The witches, the warlocks, the magicians, the Satanists, the sorcerers, the Magi, the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, all of them all understand the same thing. They all operate by the same set of rules. Don't pay attention to those names. It is how they choose to use the rules that you call them good or evil. All of them use the same set of rules. Even the Christians and the Satanists use the same set of rules. Because you know why? Because there's only one God. Ain't no two gods. There's only one God, and God laid down the natural laws. And you can study them or you can't. So one of them is vibration. Everything in creation is a vibrational frequency. Vibrational frequencies can be emitted from the mind or the tongue. Water is one of the purest elements in the universe. So the body is composed of the 5 elements: fire, water, earth, air, and spirit. The 5th element. You have a 98.6 degree body temperature. You breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide. Same activity that a fire does. Your body's 75% water. From dust you came and dust you will return. You need oxygen to breathe that starts the whole process in the lungs. And the spirit is in the blood and in the semen. You're the quintessential component of all the main building blocks in nature. That's why the elementals all look at you and worship you. But you don't know that. The fire elements, the water elements, the air elements, and the earth elements, because you, the human being, are the supreme. This is why Azazel, or in the Quran, was it Azazel or was it Lucifer? He did not want to bow down before man. And God said, you need to bow down before man. He said, he's a thing of clay. He said, I know what you know not. He said, I'm from the Narin Samoon. I'm from the smokeless fire. And you want me to bow down to this man? He said, I'm going to show you that you're wrong. And so the thing that you're contending with is you're constantly being tested. Your character is being tested. This is a school, and you're being tested to see what your character is. Something or someone, some intelligence is out to prove that you're not worthy. That's why you see all the degradation, the immorality, and everything that's going on. It's a test to prove that you're not worthy. You rather indulge in hedonism. I mean, it's amazing. These people have convinced you to kill your own children. No other creature on the planet does that. Let's get back to this. When I say God's law, we're talking about 2 different laws. God's law in the Torah are the 613 laws, the statutes that he gave in Deuteronomy and Leviticus to the Israelites. Every time God said, thou shalt or thou shalt not, that is a law, because God says my word will not come back to me void. However, the fundamental principles that underlie all of those laws are the 7 principles that it talks about in Proverbs 9:1, where it says God has built his house and hewn out, nature's built her house and hewn out her 7 pillars. Those 7 pillars all come from Egypt. A lot of the Proverbs come from Egypt, and that is vibration, correspondence, mentalism, rhythm, polarity, cause and effect, and gender. Those 7 principles underlie all of creation. So you got to study those first. And then once you begin to understand how everything in nature works, now you can begin to make it work for your favor. Now you become a God man, because now you can start to control your environment, because you begin to understand, okay, everything is a vibratory frequency. So therefore, everything in creation has a name. A vibratory signature is its name. When you learn the name of that thing, you can control it. You can control it when you learn its name. That's why you have to say the magic words properly. You know, you got to say the words correctly. Abracadabra. You know, this is a science. It's all a science. But you call it magic, or you give some sort of name to it, like magic, like stage charlatanry or something like that, when it is simply science. Science and magic are the same thing. You just call it magic because you're in a state of ignorance. When you come into a state of knowledge, you become a scientist. Understand that. So if everything is a vibratory frequency, then you can use words, but you have to repeat them over and over, repetition. It's like you have this mental, spiritual, and physical. So when you have a thought, it's at a very high rate of speed that it's vibrating. So you have to slow it down. Just like with water, water goes through a solid, liquid, and gas. It has a gaseous state, and then as it slows down, it goes into a water state, and it slows down even more, it becomes a solid. Well, thought goes through that same process. When you first think of something, it's in a gaseous state, and you keep thinking of it, and it gets into a liquid state. You start to see things happen around you, and it probably comes into it manifests into your life. But as soon as you think of it, it exists. You just haven't brought it down to the physical plane. To bring it down to the physical plane, you have to repetitively think about it all the time. You have to keep repeatedly think about it. This is the formula. There is no other way. There's not another way to success. You can't create your own road to success. The way to success has already been marked out. This is why you get mentors and things like that to show you. And if you're a wealthy person out there listening, they know what I'm talking about. They all understand this. But trying to get that to a poor person with a poor mentality, they don't believe that. They think it's who you know, or they think you got lucky, or, you know, it's this systemic racism. I'm a victim. And you're trying to pierce this veil of ignorance, but it's just so thick. It's almost like they relish being a victim. Like it's some kind of high. And they want to walk around calling themselves kings and queens and gods and goddesses. You playing with the word. You don't mean that shit. Because if you did, you'd be actively in the laboratory experimenting with this shit I'm talking about. That's what the Anunnaki did. They were scientists, the males and the females. They didn't do any magic. Sound can be cut solid objects. Sound, that's how they built the pyramids, through levitation. They ain't had no crane. Can't find a crane in the world to lift them. They got 4 stones in the ceiling, 80 feet in the air. Ain't a crane in the world can lift one of them. And they got them perfectly in the ceiling without mortar. You can't even put a razor blade through them. How the hell do they do that? Down in Machu Picchu as well. It was science. These people were closer to nature. See, they understand they're keeping you away from nature. These people studied nature. They studied the animals. They studied the environment. They had a connection. You done lost yours. So when somebody comes and tries to tell you something, you don't believe it. You only believe what CNN tell you. If it ain't on CNN, it ain't real. So, and then let me talk about that. He said everything is illusionary. That right there, y'all say that, and you don't understand what you're saying when you say that, because the paradox of that is it is illusionary, but you got to deal with it. And all illusionary means is that it's not permanent. Everything is in a constant state of flux. The only thing that is real is something that doesn't change. And that's only the source in all of creation. The source is the only thing that doesn't change. So the closer you get to source, the more powerful you become. But saying that the word they use is Maya. Maya means illusion. So it's like, but that doesn't mean, the paradox to that is you still have to deal with the reality. Even if it is an illusion, you still can kick your foot against the curb and break your toe. So I think, I'm always hearing people say everything is illusionary. Illusionary just means that it's vibrating, that everything is everything is in a state of flux, everything is in a constant state of motion, everything is constantly changing from one state to the next. Movement is what gives birth to creation. So saying it's illusionary really doesn't mean anything to me. It only means, I only call it that in the sense that I can manipulate it. Once I understand that it can be changed, I can take control of it and change it myself. That is the only reason I even, entertain the word illusionary when I'm talking about reality, is that I can control it. That's why you can create your own reality. You can create your own reality. Because everything is illusionary. Everything's in a state of flux. Everything's in a constant state of change. Everything's electrons, protons, neutrons, pulled together in certain patterns that you can control if you learn the things that we're talking about. If you understand, in the beginning of every creation, God spoke everything into existence. Be and exist. Kun fire kun. Be and exist. Let there be light. Fiat lux. Spoken out of chaos order. From the undifferentiated to differentiated. I want you to meditate on some of those things I just said, because they all mean the same thing. And if you can make the connection, then you've elevated yourself to another level when you begin to understand that all those things I just said all mean the same thing. They're all making references to vibration. We appreciate the $9.99. Candy Lee Adder, appreciate that. No, the $4.99. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, let's get in here. Let's get back. Let's get back. I got knocked off I was on page 20. What page I was on? I was on page 20 something. I got knocked off my page. Yeah, okay. What I'll just right here. Okay, yeah, okay. You commence the complaint, swears on the complaint. Yeah, I was thinking I was right here. Let's start at number 6. It says, in a criminal case, the system functions by getting people to plead to the criminal statutes on the public side. Then the matter shifts from criminal to civil, agreement of the parties for resolution. If you take this route, you are down the drain. The proper way is to obtain a civil, meaning money resolution on the private side so that the dispute is ended at its source and there is no controversy for any tribunal to resolve. This resolution occurs by stipulation between the parties as real beings. Once that agreement is reached on the private side, the origin, the possibility for any public action is eliminated. There's no longer anything to drag across the bar and into the public domain. This is in harmony with Matthew 5:25. Agree with your adversary before you get to court. You should always try to settle matters, any type of dispute, that dispute resolution, you should try to settle it privately first so you don't waste the judicial resources of the court. That's why they have arbitration agreements. Why y'all act like you don't understand what this is talking about? So when we do an administrative process, we're doing an arbitration. We're trying to reach a resolution or a stipulation of the parties before we go to court. We're trying to resolve this amicably in the private without any type of public spectacle. Don't you think that's always the right thing to do? But they have you so ensconced in the public and the public mindset, you think that getting on the news and then putting your case, all that's normal. They supposed to be trying to handle that privately before they take it into the public. Number 7, for securing the stipulation between the parties that ends the dispute on the spot, admit to the facts in the charging instrument. Why would you ever do that? They have something called, let's see why we would do that. Let's see, why would we do that, Yusef? Why would I admit to the facts that the prosecutor puts on the record? Why would I do that? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Are you crazy, Yusef? I'm not doing that. All right, calm down, calm down. All right, let's look and see. I know it's counterintuitive, but let's look and see why you would do that. Let's go. First of all, we got to go to our trusty dictionary on SPC University. You know, your dictionary is your best friend. I don't see how anybody could do any of this without it. You should be, every time you're reading something, you should be opening up the dictionary. There's never been a time ever that I've been reading law books or any of this material that I don't pause for a second and open up a dictionary. If you're not doing that, you're not studying. And that's why you're having a hard time understanding, because understanding is connected to the meaning of words. And when you read something, the more words you don't understand the meaning of, the smaller your level of comprehension, the lower your level of comprehension. So let's go to C. Confession and avoidance. All right, that's on the color. Let's see, confession and avoidance. Let me see, color. Confession and avoidance. Confession and avoidance. A plea in which a defendant admits allegations, but pleads additional facts that deprive the admitted facts of an adverse legal effect. That's the definition. Everything else is them trying to explain something away. So you can admit to the facts, but plead additional facts that will render the admitted facts from having an adverse legal effect. This is what we call, in commerce, acceptance for value. But in common law, they call it confession and avoidance. This is a common law plea. So when you're accepting in commerce, I'm accepting their presentment, which is their indictment, for value. in return for full settlement and closure of the accounting on this. I'm making my exemption as the principal available for discharge of all obligations and charges connected with this case. I'm not disputing any of the facts in the charging instrument. Please use my exemption for offset and adjustment of the public charges against the defendant and release the order of the court to me immediately. I know this sounds good, like I'm saying it on the air, and not to say I would say that exactly like that in court. But after I say that, what happens next is anybody's guess. And I got to be on my toes and ready. Because that right there, when you get through saying that, and the judge may just be going through some paperwork, and then he hear you say this right here, he's on full alert now. He's looking at you. He's going to have, we're not doing that in the courtroom today. Or, just something's coming after it. And you got to know it's some bullshit. No matter what the people on YouTube are looking at, because they don't have an eye to see and an ear to hear. They haven't developed that yet. It's the occult world of commerce. They can't see. The people be critiquing those YouTube videos, they can't see. Oh, the judge is doing a good job not taking that mess from a sovereign. That's not what I saw. I saw somebody nervous. I saw somebody desperate, trying to prevent something from getting on the record. We're not doing that in here today. And just calmly wait, objection, Your Honor, but it is my understanding that I have a right to know the nature and cause of any action pursuant to the Sixth Amendment for the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, am I to understand that the Honorable Judge is willfully disregarding his constitutional oath to uphold that amendment? See, I asked a question to get him to testify, because anything he say can and will be used against him. You got to learn how to do that with everything. It got to start flowing off the top of your head from any situation that you're in. That only comes from practice. That only comes from repetition. That only comes from constant reading and deepening your understanding of the information so you feel more secure in what you're saying. Confession and avoidance. So, when we get back, when it says, let me read it again, for securing the stipulation between the parties that ends the dispute on the spot, admit to the facts in the charging instrument, after having accepted everything for value, of course. This can be accomplished by statements such as, I have no problem with pleading guilty to the facts stated in the charges. Now, you're not pleading guilty to the law. You're pleading guilty to facts. This is how you don't go to trial. See, they're always trying to take you to trial. You don't never want to go to trial, especially with this information. You don't never want to go to trial. And how you do that is tell them, hey, Your Honor, I'm not contesting either the facts in the charging instrument. I'm agreeing to the facts. What I'm interested in knowing, however, is the law that's going to be applied to those facts. And in order to understand that, I would need to know the nature of this action. Now, I have a question. Is this a civil or criminal action? For securing the stipulation between the parties that ends the dispute on the spot, admit to the facts in the charging instrument, after having accepted everything for value, of course. This can be accomplished by statements such as, I have no problem with pleading guilty to the facts stated in the charges. The prosecution says you wrote a check on a closed account. Okay, you did. That is a fact, not a charge. So agree with the statement. By so doing, you are not agreeing that what you did was a crime or violated any statute or can be a basis for prosecuting you. You have merely agreed to a fact in reality, thereby reaching a stipulation with the prosecutor that ends the negotiations. Because there is stipulation between the parties, there's no longer any controversy for a court to hear and entertain. The agreement between the two of you ends the matter. When there is agreement on the private substance side, the subject matter can never get to the public side because no dispute exists. So somebody's always asking me, well, what is the first step you would take? The first step you take is write a letter of acceptance to the prosecutor, the judge, and the clerk. Examples are in creditors and their bonds. I appreciate the $20. You're on fire tonight. Thanks for creating SBC University. Very informative. Many blessings to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Somebody gave me a $4.99. I appreciate that, Eric. Eric from a blue state. You have given me so much knowledge and wisdom. Thank you. You are welcome. You are definitely welcome, Eric. Appreciate the $49.99, brother. Thank you so much. All right. All right, so, yeah, this is a good live tonight. This is a good live, you know, and that's why I'm reading this. I'm reading this because I already know all of it, but it helps order my thoughts, and, you know, and I explain it to you. I like to read it, then explain to you what it's talking about and give you examples of things. And so, you know, so it's like, you know, it's like class, you know, but this is a very well-written document, you know, so I suggest people read it. Number 8, concerning the bonding of the case, your discharge of the matter by use of your exemption makes you owner of the transaction. Bonding the case, that is very important. Every case that you engage in should be bonded. You find that out when you start studying admiralty. Now, they don't put a bond, in fact, on the record on their side, because all public servants already are presumed to be bonded. But that's a presumption. You can ask the court to tell the prosecutor to provide his bond and put it on the record. You can make that statement, but you already want to have a bond put on. Now, when you go and study admiralty, and I studied The Clerk's Practice by John Hall, you will see that the plaintiff and the defendant in any action in admiralty are both required to put in a bond. They didn't call it a bond in their time. They called it a caution. This is to indemnify the party in case you've injured him by bringing him in the court and he wasn't guilty of what you said he did. But bonds, you need to bond, you to indemnify yourself in the case by promising to cover all the costs in the case. Number 9 is real good. Let's read this very, very carefully and slowly. Number 9. Keep in mind that if you follow their lure, what they present to you as the way to go, you're dead. They want you to plead to the statutes, not the facts. The statutes are their property, their truth, namely fiction, and jurisdiction concerning which you have no authority to deal. You own yourself on the substance side / private. Substance and private side mean the same thing. You own yourself on the substance / private side, but have no claim on interpretation of facts that someone alleges on the private side out of his belfry that he wants you to deal with on the colorable public side. If a matter is intended at its source, the private domain is ended at its source, there is nothing to bring into the public arena. Now, it's a lure. I like that because it's a lure. They always lure you. That's what I was talking to you earlier. They keep throwing all this paperwork in your face of what you did. And your mind gets so wrapped up. Oh, you know, they saying I did X, Y, and Z. They saying I did X, and that invokes fear and doubt and things like that. And then you need to calm yourself down, and you begin to worry. And worry is the biggest waste of energy. And therefore, you have to have something to settle you back down. And that's what knowledge does. That's what knowing what the right questions to ask. Because a lot of times things ain't as bad as it seems, especially if you haven't committed one of the 7 deadly sins. You ain't killed nobody. You ain't raped nobody. You haven't stolen anybody's property. If you ain't did any of those things, what you worried about? If you haven't committed some malum in se crime, but only conducted something malum prohibita, Number 10, by pleading guilty to the facts on the private side, you are demurring. Who says I can't write a check on my own closed account? I place some ink on a piece of paper, but so what? Number 11, remember that no one on the public side can charge anyone with a crime on the private side. Only people act. Straw men do not act and cannot act. Therefore, deal with matters between you and your adversaries privately, forming private contract, usually by their tacit consent through non-response between you and them. The terms and conditions of the contract include the fact established on the notarial record that they stipulate that the matter is resolved, so no dispute exists. Now, let me say this. That's why you'll see in certain documents the man doing business as. When you write the judge, you say, my name is Yusef, sui juris, and I'm writing to you, John Brown, doing business as Judge John Brown, because what we're doing is we're making a distinction between the private man and the public man working in the public. When we resolve something privately, we're coming to him man to man. So when we write correspondence, we're writing to him as a man, not as a judge. When you write a judge a letter in chambers, you're not writing to him in his professional capacity. You're writing to him in his private capacity as a man. Public and private don't mix. They don't ever mix them, don't you either. Number 12, someone invoking the system must post a bond to invoke the services of a court. The authorities cannot arrest you without an order, warrant, which is a check from a court, and the only way a court can obtain the jurisdiction to issue a warrant is by someone having posted a bond indemnifying the court and granting the court subject matter jurisdiction, funds against which to execute the warrant/check to adjudicate the matters you are being accused of. You must require that they provide the audit trail of the accounting on that bond that allegedly bonds the case. And that bond is usually the bid bond. You can go into the courtroom and ask them, may I have the bid bond? You're going to see everybody start acting funny. You got to catch them off guard with it. Ask your attorney, if you have an attorney. Just catch him off guard in his office. Hey, man, you know anything about a bid bond I can get to make this case go away? What are you talking about? A bid bond? Is that what you said? A bid bond? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. But it's the body language. Don't believe me. Just do what I'm asking you to do. Use your intelligence in your head, though. You got to be slick. That's what they are. They slick. You got to be just like them. This is a game of chess. I'm a chess player, a very good one. Very good one. I love the game of chess. I love it when you get into that zone and you can start seeing 5 moves ahead. I love the art of the sacrifice, where I can put a piece out there and you think I'm giving it away to you for free, and then I checkmate you in 2 moves because you out of position. That was the lure to get you out of position. You got to be thinking 5 moves ahead, man. You got to be able to anticipate everything they're going to say or do in court. That's why I've taken you through all of this. Because if you study enough of these documents, you will be able to anticipate everything they're going to do or say in court. You will. Because they go off of a script, and they're all following the same script all over the country. So much so that the people look stupid for keep falling for the same bullshit. You have to really question now until they think everybody's stupid. Like, damn, these motherfuckers keep falling for this shit. These motherfuckers keep falling for the same shit. And I have to agree. How you keep falling for this shit? This shit is funny. Listen, when they said, there was somebody who said that when you find out the ultimate truth of what's going on planet Earth, you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh. That's why creditors and their bonds, the real name of the document is, it only hurts when I laugh. You're going to laugh. They even say it in the book of Isaiah, in the Bible. They say it in the book of Isaiah. Let me pause real quick. They say it in the book of Isaiah too, the same thing. The same thing that you're going to say, they say, where's the thing at, man? We go to Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14. Let me read King James. Right there. No, it started 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which thou didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble and did shape kingdoms? They're going to ask that question. It's just, they did the same thing with the Wizard of Oz. That was the basis of the Wizard of Oz. When you look behind the curtain, is this the man that had everybody shook? Some weak, frail, pathetic. That's what you're going to find out. The people who are running this planet. And it's not going to be so much. Thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that, Tony Mack. It's not going to be so much that it's just going to be, you're going to see that what they were doing really wasn't that sophisticated as you thought it would be. They had to dumb you down to fool you. They couldn't fool you if you were just, if they made the playing field equal. They had to dumb you down to fool you. That means their plan is not like you think it is. If you have to dumb me down, you must not be as sophisticated as you would like me to believe. If you have to dumb me down, you're scared of me. You're scared. I must possess some kind of quality that you are terribly afraid of, that if I ever find it and it awakens in me, you're going to have hell to pay. I'm just saying. Let's get back to the law of redemption. Let's look at number 13. If you're presented with a warrant accepted for value, write exempt from levy on it, sign, date, and return it to the court. You know this exempt from levy, I used to always wonder why they would write that. I understand it perfectly, because everything operates off liens. That's how they create money. They need a lien. So if it's exempt from levy, they mean they can't put a lien against it. That means they can't create any money against it. It's unalienable. Inalienable rights that are unalienable. Understand what exempt from levy means. They're trying to levy your estate. They're trying to put a lien against your social security number that evidences a debt, that they can create a negotiable instrument off of and trade. Everything's about trading. Everything is about money changes. Because everything is negotiable instruments. They changing money from one form to another. Just a complex matrix of money changes. Let's change this bond into a bill of exchange, this bill of exchange into a promissory note, this promissory note into some electronic debt in a digits in a computer. They're just changing it from form to form. It's a game as old as 2,000 years old with Jesus Christ. When he put the money changes out of the temple, I understand why he did it. I understand it. I understand why he was so pissed off. Number 14, the court bond gives the court subject matter jurisdiction. If you are the creditor paying with substance and not liability funds, it is your court. The court, now what is substance? How you pay with substance? Your credit from the private side. That's substance, because everything on the private side has substance. Liability funds are Federal Reserve notes. They liability funds. Substance notes are things that you create. because they're backed by a real human being that is capable of performing labor. You don't think that you can write a promissory note? That's what we used to do in this country. We used to go down to the grocery store and get some bread and give the owner of the store a promissory note. I'll pay you back on Thursday. And he accepted it. You were good for it. You were a member of the community. He knows you. You work. He knows you got a job. You work. They know I have money because I gave it all to them. We gave them all the gold and silver. They got to give it back to me. That means as long as you owe me, I'll always have money. Y'all understand? I appreciate that, Steve. What's up, Yusef? Finally catch your live. I love your content and thank you for being the gateway into the Gnosis, and the fact that you promote to start reading is having an effect on me. Much love. You, hey man, I'm great. I love that. You know, I am trying to bring back that love of reading. It is definitely something that people need to re-embrace. I think that it is definitely one of the pillars that if we're going to see some sort of renaissance of traditional values in this country, I think we're going to have to start encouraging individuals to start reading more. I don't see much change occurring without that. The further we're getting away from self-education, the more that we are falling off of this cliff of degradation and immorality, seeping deeper into the mire of negativity. It's all negative. If you enter a plea when no bond has been posted, you have broken the law by pleading to non-existent charges, namely color of charges. Also, you have granted the court subject matter jurisdiction to prosecute your straw man on the public side as the debtor. Posting the court bond removes all basis for continuing. The matter is resolved by your discharge on the private side. Now, let me say this. If you file a bond in the case, it's called a court bond, you need to read it into the case when you go into the courtroom. You always say, Jan, I'd like to make this a part of the public record. I'd like to read this into the record. That's how you get it into the record. You're there to make a record. So you read all your documents into the record. If you have an affidavit, you say, Jan, I'd like to make this a part of the record. Exhibit A, affidavit of non-corporate existence. Sometimes the judge say, you don't have to read it. I'll just make it a part of the record. The stenographer will make it a part of the record. That's cool if they do that. Just saves time, saves the court time. Okay? But you just let them know, I want to make this a part of the record. But you need to know what you're going to say after that. If you enter a plea when no bond has been posted, you have broken the law by pleading to non-existent charges, namely color of charges. Also, you have granted the court subject matter jurisdiction to prosecute your straw man on the public side as the debtor. Posting the court bond removes all basis for continuing. The matter is resolved by your discharge on the private side. I'm going to give you an example of this too. I'm going to give you an example of what they're talking about. I'm going to go to Georgia, Title 18, and we're going to go into the Georgia Code, and we're going to go into, let's see, where are we going? Debtor and creditor. Title 18 is debtor and creditor law in Georgia. Title 18, debtor and creditor. And we're going to go to attachment proceedings and general provisions. And I think which one of these is the bond? Let me see which one is the bond. Process of attachment. Let's see. Let me go to Justia. I don't even know why I'm over here on these weird ass websites. Let me go to justia.com. All right, we're going to go to the Georgia Code on Justia. see, where am I at? Attachment proceeding. Let me see. Where's this thing at, man? I'm having so hard a time finding it. Georgia Codes, Title 18. Let's see. Can I go from here? Okay, here it is. So you got, okay, we got attachment proceedings, and then we got general provisions, and this is what I want right here. Bond requirements, 18310. No writ of attachment. A writ of attachment, we need to look this word up. What is a writ of attachment? All right, let's pause. No writ of attachment shall issue unless accompanied by a bond with good security. But what is a writ of attachment? Let's go over to our dictionary. Let's see what a writ of attachment is. Let's go to A, which is attachments in the Black's Law Dictionary. Let's go to an attachment. 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 The seizing of a person's property to secure a judgment or to be sold in satisfaction of a judgment. Okay? Attachment of wages. All right? Let's keep going, though. Because they got to cut. Okay, here's the second sense. The arrest of a person who is either in contempt of court or is to be held as security for the payment of a judgment. So, it's an arrest. So this is right here is talking about an arrest warrant. Where is it at? Where did I just have it at? Okay. No warrant for an arrest shall issue unless accompanied by a bond with good security, condition to pay the defendant, which is you, all cost and damages that he may sustain and consequence of the issuance of the writ of attachment, any event that the amount claimed to be due was not due, that no lawful ground for the issuance of the attachment existed, or that the property sought to be attached was not subject to attachment. The bond shall be in a sum equal to twice the amount claimed in the plaintiff's application. The bond shall be presented to the clerk of the court where the application provided for in Code Section 1839 is sought to be filed for approval by such clerk prior to the filing of the writ of attachment. Now, also they got one, what it looks like. What does this look like? Forms of attachment. Well, the first thing they have is the bond. So this is what the bond looks like right here. This is the verbiage for it. So you take this and copy it just like this. And then you can where's my word at? I had word. MS Word. Oh, there it is right. Let me see. Can y'all see this on the screen? I got a window. All right, yeah. So right here, that ain't it either. Hold on, let me see. That is it. Yep, that's it. Okay. That's it. All right, let me see if I can put this on the screen for you. This thing. Yeah, let me see. Can I change this new one, blank document? Okay. There we go. That ain't it, though. Hold on, y'all. I'm just trying to get this thing on the screen. Is that it right there? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Here we go. All right, so this is, so I took that verbiage out of there and I put it on this piece of paper. All right. So this is what it looks like when you take the verbiage out of there. bond, state of Georgia, all right, county of, and we the principal and security jointly and severally. This is a bond. We got one similar to this in creditors and their bonds, all right? But I'm showing you this to make you understand this is what a lot of people don't know about the occult world, that these bonds have to be placed in, which is just a promise, into a court case if they're going to issue any type of warrant for an arrest. For that Title 18 to apply, there has to be a creditor and debtor relation. Anytime anybody owes anybody any type of money, certain or uncertain, there's a creditor and debtor relationship. Child support is a creditor and debtor relationship. When you're on probation, that's a creditor and debtor relationship. They have you paying restitution and things like that. All these things fall under commerce and creditor and debtor situations. Therefore, both sides are required to put in a bond in any proceeding related to any case, which is just a piece of paper saying I promise to cover all the cost. So it's mandatory that you likewise do the same thing. It is incumbent upon you to do the same thing. Let's do number 16. Having a hearing in an admiralty court is not a common law right. It requires posting a bond so that the court can have in rem jurisdiction. In rem means against a thing. Write that down. You should know what in personam and in rem is. You should know what in personam jurisdiction is and in rem jurisdiction. You should definitely know what those words mean. The property at stake in the proceeding is the bond, the bid bond that I'm telling you to ask for. You must secure title to the bond behind a criminal prosecution if you wish to be immune from conviction. How do you get title? There must be an agreement between the parties concerning the identity of the creditor on the bond. The court will probably try to secure title by asking you to pay a small fee for filing the bond. This is a trap. One way or another, you must provide the asset that balances the books. The issue is not whether you discharge the obligation, but what kind of funds, namely in asset funds or liability funds, you use for doing so. If you use your exemption, you secure your title. If you use Federal Reserve notes, you forfeit title. Therefore, you suggest that either the court waive the public administration fee for registering the bond or secure the fee by performing an adjustment and set off through the use of your private treasury UCC contract trust account, your private EIN without dashes. In the court, if the court does not do either, it is in dishonor of you as the king creditor, authorizing you to discharge the matter by bringing the involuntary bankruptcy against the court to discharge the bond because you have established yourself as the owner by your acceptance for value and willingness to allow your exemption to be used for discharging the obligation. Now, this involuntary bankruptcy once again rears its head. This is a strategy that you have to bring them in because you can, if they trying to say you owe them some money, now they have to fill out a B-10 proof of claim form. I had a guy, man, this white guy I was locked up with. He was in Georgia. He got caught in a sweep that they were having. They had just passed a law that allowed the police to wiretap everybody's phones without getting a warrant. And they started bringing in a lot of people. They started getting a lot of people. So he said that his son had used his cell phone and had bought a pound of weed, or like, I don't know, a couple of pounds of weed. They came and arrested him. And he wasn't even worried about it. He said, I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to file bankruptcy. And I looked at him like, how do you know that? He understood. He was not nervous at all. Hold on for a second. What time is it? All right, y'all. I'm going to stop right here. We are going to continue tomorrow. I don't want to go too long. I want to thank everybody for the donations. I hope somebody said I helped them. That's why I do these, because I know some of y'all got cases out there. That's why I do these. I know you got a case out there. I know you got some matter that you need to deal with. I ain't left you. But I got to go through all this. You got to be educated. You got to get an education so your eyes can be trained on what to see and what to hear. You got to tune your eyes to what to hear and what to see. A lot of y'all going in there without training, and you don't know what you're hearing and what you're seeing. You're just talking about something doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're on a different radio frequency. We over here on V103. You over there on, V107 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You're on a different station. Tune in. You my OG, I've been watching you for 8 years or longer. You helped me beat 3 cases in proper persona and build a vigilant, spiritual, and economic mind from your teachings. Thank you, bro. Much love. You welcome, man. That makes me feel so good to hear. And I hear it all the time, man. I hear it all the time. Y'all always telling me how y'all beat something that helped you out of a situation. And, that really makes me feel good. It warms my heart, because I'm always trying to, I'm in my own group and they say, man, you don't never give no remedy. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I'm sitting here, I'm giving y'all everything I got. I'm like launching everything I got. I'm giving you scenarios. I'm talking about what happened to me in court. I'm telling you how to look at this. This what this word means. You need to look here. I'm doing everything I can, I'm emptying the clip. I empty the clip every time I come on the live. Until I say, God damn, I gotta lay down. You know what I'm saying? I didn't spit as much as I can. I need to rest. Because I'll go 3 hours straight, just keep talking. And I can't keep doing that. I got to start doing about 1 hour, 1 hour. I'm going 2-3 hours. I'll be forgetting the time. 2 hours passed by and I'm like, damn, this 2 hours went by. Dang. But I love that. Number 14. Okay. All right, okay, I'll read it real quick. The court bond gives the court subject matter jurisdiction. If you are the creditor paying with substance, that means that you put your signature on your own bond or promissory note or bill of exchange or something like that. That is called something of substance because you're a private individual and you're on the private side. Substance is only on the private side. There isn't anything of substance on the public side because the public side is fiction or legal fictions. They're not real. Everything is a legal fiction on the public side. Corporations, things like that. These are all legal fictions. So you paying with substance means that I took a bank note or some sort of negotiable instrument and put my signature on it. And that gave it substance. Liability funds are Federal Reserve notes. They worthless pieces of paper. So the court bond gives the court subject matter jurisdiction. If you are the creditor paying with substance and not liability funds, it is your court. And I've heard judges say that to me. It's your court, Mr. Jones. When they say that, make sure you take over. I'd like you to discharge this matter and release the order of the court to me immediately. I'm giving you my authorization to use my exemption to offset these charges administratively. Go always for settlement and closure. The court serves the creditor. These are all credit they do. Now you have some debtor states, but the majority of court, always in equity, the creditor is going to get served though. It's going to compel performance. So the court does serve the creditor. The court serves the creditor. When you have title to the bond behind the criminal prosecution, there is no way you can go to jail because you have discharged the bond that would otherwise result in your being seized and incarcerated as the surety for your straw man that they treat as a debtor, defendant, loser in a dispute. Now let me say this. They talking about that bid bond, which they're not going to give you. However, when I studied all of this, what I learned from all of this is how to make a record. Okay, you have to have a record of what your position is. And you also have to have a record of your honor and a record of their dishonor. That is what is very important. And what you're going to see is when they're dealing with an ignorant pro se, he doesn't know to have a stenographer into the courtroom. He doesn't understand that he's in there to make a record, not to talk to the judge, but to make a record. Any type of thing I'm saying to the judge has a purpose because I'm trying to get something to reflect on the record. All right, y'all, I got to go. I gave y'all enough to study until tomorrow. You got enough. Study. You need to go back and watch all these videos and catch up to speed. Because I'm going to go through this entire document. You don't have to worry. I'm going through this entire document. All right. Peace to the gods. I'll see y'all tomorrow.